talking about
Um,
Reagan and being a Midwest boy going to, and a lot of people.
yeah, no, he's associated with well, I mean California, with Hollywood. Generally I think people think of him as from California, but originally he was from, I think, Illinois. And I think he went to a university like Northern Illinois, and it kind of stood apart from other presidents, almost all of them, because he wasn't Ivy League and he didn't have the same kind of academic pedigree that most of them have. Where they're coming out of.
Yeah.
The Bushes are like prototypes in that regard. Yale, Skull and Bones, Secret Society, elite New England.
Bloodline, yeah.
He didn't have that. So anyway, you were thinking that maybe he went to USC, and actually
Yeah.
he's aligned with those schools quite a bit, mainly because of Los Angeles. And so that's also true of UCLA, but even more so USC in his case.
Even because he was governor there before he became president, right? Or was it senator? I know
Yeah,
he was
yeah, no. He was governor of
governor.
California before he was president, and he was president of SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, before he
Oh,
was governor.
that's what I was going to say. Was it because of his acting?
Yeah, and the Screen Actors, then you don't have to go too far back to where there was, the where Hollywood, gosh, what do you call the name's escaping me, what it was called, but where there were hearings and certain actors and other people in Hollywood were accused of being pro-communist and aligned with the Soviets, and so they were blackballed, and you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I forgot all about it, and now
And so
that's a deep rabbit hole I forgot all about.
well, and he was on the pro-American side of that, Western actor, cowboy, John Wayne. John Wayne went to USC also. Yeah, I mean, I sound like an idiot because I don't know what I'm talking about. I can't remember what it is, but
Just trying to look it up, and the only things that come up are the Timothy Buzzfield stuff. So let's see.
no, it's not that.
No. Okay, there it is. Okay, communism.
Maybe it's just called the Hollywood Backlist. House, that's what I was thinking of, the House on Un-American Activities Committee. Yeah. So, so they put the 40s to the 60s here, Hollywood Blacklist, the Hollywood Seven.
Yeah.
So this is a real thing that happened, and the Red Scare. So people were saying, which of these people are on the wrong team, and it's a different time, so there's people think it's Cold War, people are thinking about real danger, from communists. It's a little bit different environment, the Hollywood 10.
Whatever came about from this. I mean, these
Well,
actors are still in Hollywood. I recognize a lot of the names.
yeah, I
Not
mean, I,
these
I
guys.
think it was, well, even that, I think it depends on, I don't know that it's entirely settled. I think it's seen as like kind of a dark time in Hollywood. It was something of a witch hunt, I think.
Yeah.
But I think that here's a place where context kind of matters too, because the country is it comes after a world war, which was really costly.
Hmm.
Everyone in the United States had some way they were connected to what happened, some relative, some friend, some way that their community was affected by it. And so, the fears were real, and then there's, the rest of it. And there's a lot of retrospect. We can look back on this and understand a lot better. But, I think so the Red Scare and Hollywood's role, there were a lot of people concerned about that. And there was a real contest for the narrative, like what was true, what was not. And then with what we're talking about with Reagan is he was just on the side of what was seen at the time as the pro-American or the conservative part of the Hollywood, I guess. So of the Screen Actors Guild. It's kind of funny
Oh,
to think of it now that way because the liberals hold such sway. And I don't even know that those are the right terms to use, but a lot of people in power in Hollywood was put in the position of having to explain the fact that they weren't sympathetic to the
Right, right.
And so with that, obviously, I'm not super knowledgeable about this. I'm also
That's
not really
interesting.
current. But I mean, yeah, if you look at the names, like leaked names, let me see with this, communism was pervasive in Hollywood was the thought, and they were naming people and then supposedly leaked. So Humphrey Bogart, Katharine Hepburn, I mean, these are super A-listers of their day for sure. I mean, even here I'm looking in 1941, Walt Disney took out an ad in Variety. So Variety's one of the two
Hmm.
big trade publications,
Black and white, big
declaring
paper, right? Like it's a big paper.
it might have been back then. It was when I was there, it was more like a glossy like magazine
Right,
actually.
like you
But
flip it, it's not like any.
I think they published more than one thing. There was a Hollywood Reporter and Variety. I think there's still, I don't know if they print it anymore, but I think those are the two. They were kind of similar and they would compete, and like, I think most places like any they would subscribe to both, so you just have them both sort of like inside, just like inside industry stuff. So,
Yeah,
like
but that's where
contracts
auditions
that
are
were,
listed and stuff, right? In there, don't they have like agents and
um,
auditions and things listed in there?
I don't know. I don't remember that actually.
Okay.
I think it was more like industry news, like, like who was talking to whom, what deals were signed, what got greenlit, what got
Mm,
delayed, what got shelved, who was trying to, that some like gossip kind of stuff. It was like inside information, like, like MGM stopped production on whatever because of whatever. And then, if you're in that business and you're trying to do deals, that might be something really important. I don't know that it was so much directed at actors. I think they would be maybe look into it to see where there might be opportunities.
that's
But
interesting.
that was a lot. That was also a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, so what did Walt Disney say, declaring his conviction that communist agitation was behind cartoonists and animators' strike? So you get like Disney himself involved in this. And anyway,
Well,
my
there's
point
J.
about
Edgar
this was
Hoover.
just, well, yeah, because he was the one that was, really going after it as, like the guy, and he's got blackmail and everyone, and there's all kinds of stuff going on below the surface here. Okay, is it okay if I read a little bit?
Yeah, yeah.
Of the people subpoenaed by the committee, 23 were deemed friendly, some of whom had previously testified in closed sessions at the Biltmore Hotel. So that's a super important hotel in LA. Let's see, hearings, 14 friendly witnesses, and check out who they are. Walt Disney, Warner, Gary Cooper, Reagan, et cetera, MGM. Disney asserted that the threat of communists in the film industry was a serious one, and he named specific employees as probable communists. Like, how about that? There's Disney. So this
Mm,
is 1940s. Disneyland
mm.
opens in 1955, just for perspective.
Wow. Okay,
So
that's
this is,
interesting.
quite a bit before that. So and then the fall, I mean, the very next sentence, Reagan, who was then president of the Screen Actors Guild, testified that a small clique within his union, which is another thing, it's a union, it's a guild, is using communist-like tactics in attempting to steer union policy. He didn't know if those unnamed members were communists or not, and that in any case, he thought the union had them under control. And here, I'm a witch hunter if the witches are communist. I would like to see them all back in. So you get kind of an idea of what's going
Hmm.
on. So, we were talking about Reagan, and, before he was president, he was governor of California. But before he was governor of California, he was president of the Screen Actors Guild. And, if you think of it as not just actors, but a union, then he's in charge of the union, like a union boss, right? He's their leader, which meant he was elected, and he's got to walk this line between um, the forces that are seen on the good side and the bad side, and then you got the Hoover and whoever else like really driving this committee to in this effort to find out. I mean, there's kind of treating them like foreign agents.
Hmm.
Find them out. Who are they? These are people who in a lot of cases they're beloved, the American people. And so like all of this is going on. And this is true, whatever the merits are or what you think about it. And then let's see, unlike friendly witnesses, other leading Hollywood figures, let's see, protested. So who are they? John Huston, so Angelica
Angelica
Houston's
Houston
dad,
too.
right? I think, which connects to lots of things. Roman Polanski for sure. Lauren Bacall, Lucille Ball, Humphrey Bogart, who was named, Henry Fonda, on and on, Judy Garland. There are people who are so famous. Even now, I think most people would know them, or at least the names. And this is 40s, this is like what, 80 years ago, 70 years ago,
Yeah.
long time ago. So anyway, again, and then we were talking about, I don't think we
He
were
has a,
recording it, but
yeah, we were
go
talking
ahead.
about what?
No, no, no. Say what, yeah, I'll remember my point. What were you going to say?
He has a stronghold on people as like the most favorite president other than JFK. And I think that is
Who?
so, Reagan does. And I think that is
Reagan. Yeah.
so interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not clean in any way, shape, or form. And he's not like, there's a lot of discussions on things he was involved in and with the MK Ultra community and stuff. So you pair this background with it, and
Hmm.
it's not that it's damning or not. I mean, he was just saying that they had it all under control. But he's
Right.
been in these power positions that are intriguingly on the fence of corrupt or very corrupt, and he's been
Right.
named by people. I mean, whatever you want to go with it. I mean, I'm curious what Bryce Taylor says, but I know Cathy O'Brien names him a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm not as
So
familiar with Cathy O'Brien as Bryce Taylor, but yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. So he was a hero for a lot of people and for a lot of reasons. But even there, it's like, well, you have the person, human being, and then kind of like the whole myth and aura around it. And then you remember he's also an actor.
yeah,
And then other things too, like he was, I think for most of his time, at least in office in the presidency, I don't think this is so much true in California. I mean, it's before my time, but he was presented as kind of a buffoon, like a, like a B movie actor, a guy that wasn't that smart. And like we were talking about, he didn't have the kind of academic credentials. A lot of other presidents have, Yale, Harvard, or a graduate degree, law, business, went to a smaller school with a bachelor's degree, Hollywood actor. But I mean, I'm not sure that's true. I mean, he started getting involved in politics, with Screen Actors Guild. There was a lot of substance to him, or at least to the aura around him. I think he was probably a lot smarter than he was given credit for.
yeah,
He was also involved in a lot more nefarious things than I think many people realized at the time. I mean, he was really popular for a lot of people, obviously, and for others he was hated and dreaded. And I mean, won an election and was reelected, but I mean, even that, there's so much in retrospect to think about. And I think that it's for me personally, it's a really interesting one to look back on, because it's like I think he was the first president that I really remembered, much about.
hmm,
I kind of remember Carter just from early childhood, but not really. And so I kind of watched it, and was not really aware of, well, I wasn't aware of a lot of the things that we know now.
yeah,
I mean, Iran Contra, and that.
yeah,
Another thing too, I remember, so this is going to reflect mainly like the adults that were around me because I was younger, but I remember him being considered the the more the more popular, the more able, and in a lot of ways even the more substantial person of the two being Reagan and George Bush, the first one.
yeah,
Even with, his background at Yale and with the CIA and other stuff. Now looking back on it retrospectively, when there'll be people who say, I mean, I remember people used to say like because Bush served one term after Reagan, just one, not two. And I remember people saying at the time that it was Reagan's third term, like
yeah.
pro-conservative kind of
Kind of
people,
like they did
right?
with Biden and Obama.
Yeah, kind of like that, right? And now I hear more often, and it probably has to do with the spaces I'm in and the things I'm researching and dealing with. But it's common to talk about how Bush had three terms, two or when he was running Reagan as his handler, the former CIA director, and then the third on his own. If you start looking at it like, well, maybe the presidents aren't the most powerful people, at least in a lot of senses, that they're subject to powerful people and interests that can kind of direct or force certain things,
Yeah.
then that kind of starts to make some sense. So it's funny how things look different over time. But this started with talking about, but what I was going to say is it started with that we were talking about, I think before we were recording, we were talking about Bohemian Grove.
Yeah. He was there too, right?
But yeah, and I was making the point that he was there when Nixon was there. I think Kissinger was there. There were a lot of people, and you were making the point that, a lot of attention is kind of put on that, especially these days. It might have been secret, but it's not so secret now. Whereas there's places in Michigan and other places where there's also a lot of historical power and influence that we're not talking about, right?
Well, I feel like they let us, like, we all know about North Fox Island, but nothing was ever done about it. We all know about
Hmm.
Bohemian Grove, and they all go there, and those rituals take place, but nothing's ever done about
Right,
it. So it has
right.
to make me wonder, like, what are the places that we don't know about that are also very similar?
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. So I think we might not be on exactly the same page with Bohemian Grove, which is fine. It's interesting to think about. I think just because of the who was there, who was
Hmm.
attending, and for days, for I think a week or maybe even more, they're there for a while. Um, like just that in and of itself means like that it was important and stuff was going on because they're there and not elsewhere, and they made a point to be there at the same time. Just like when the super yachts all end up in the same place in the Caribbean, or people end up in Davos or
Hmm.
whatever. Or even if I don't know exactly they're what they're doing
There's something.
off hours or what version of the eyes wide shut ball they're having there. I mean, I know that
Yeah.
there's stuff that's getting done. Think about, but like with Bohemian Grove specifically, I kind of think that just the fact that we know about it and can talk about it and it's sort of like out there in regular conversation means that it's maybe run most of its course.
Hmm.
So like they didn't stop doing kind of like MK Ultra, like it's not like they stopped trying to figure out things, it's just they stopped doing it under that banner or in that same way.
Writing it down
Um,
in a government
and
file
then,
and studying it.
yeah, I mean, 50 years from now, we'll find out, like, that they were doing it at other universities,
All of them.
like, well, or some maybe more than others. But, and so it makes me wonder about that. I mean, I think the one that I think, well, yeah, the one. I mean, the one that we don't talk about is the tuna club, actually, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other thing. And so, to some extent, I feel like, at least as far as California goes and like Hollywood goes and that kind of thing, it's like, okay, well, we'll give you Bohemian Grove. I mean, it's
Hmm.
still a thing and it's still a real thing.
And you found
But,
out about it, and Alex went in and made, a video, and so now it's a big deal. So we have to, give you something on it.
right. Yeah, which I mean, even Alex Jones, I mean, he's got his own, stuff and makes me wonder even if that was kind of like a planned or limited disclosure. But
Right?
anyway, it was a disclosure, just it is what it is. I mean, it was disclosed. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder what are the clubs we don't know about, or what are the ones that, don't get talked about. So anyway, I don't know how interesting that is because it's mostly stuff I don't know, but I do wonder about it.
So the one I was talking about, I called it something wrong. I called it Huron Lake. It's called Huron Mountain Club up in
Hmm.
Lake Superior. And it's just a conspiracy that it's anything. I don't have any supposed proof. But that's one where the presidents had some cabins and things like that and stuff. And so a lot of people don't know
Yeah.
about it. And I know it's been kind of shut down in the last couple of years because people can drive up to the gate and like some people can get in and some people have issue and it is what it is. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of those places like in Charlevoix, we were talking about also northern Michigan with North Fox Island being adjacent. Charlevoix has all these little clubs and not even just Charlevoix, but the northern Michigan coastline has all these
Hmm.
little clubs of large homes that are seated on
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful properties that were taken from like the 1700s, 1800s, right after it was
Hmm.
taken over. And we have a lot of Jesuit run in Michigan too. So there's a lot of roots in that stream that make it kind of like eek. But I
Right.
don't think like most people don't, they think of Michigan, they think of Detroit or oh my God, Flint water. So, oh, you've been to Mackinac. Like that's the extent of the
Right.
Michigan discussion. And so I don't think that until North Fox trended, I don't think much of this stuff was given any sort of thought process by the conspiracy movement, the truthers, the people trying to uncover. And so it's really gone hidden for a very long time. And they've been able to build NASA things up in the Upper Peninsula. They've had bases, they've had
Yeah.
secret projects that do all kinds of studying on different things. So, like, I think a lot hides up there, and there's a lot of islands
Yeah.
around
Hmm.
Michigan and in the Great Lakes in general. So, like, not that I came hard down on Bohemian Grove, but everybody that's any sort of anything has heard the conspiracies of Bohemian Grove, and
Right.
I think that one's just overplayed. I don't know that nothing happened there, and I'm definitely not discounting any victims that were part of any rituals there. I don't mean to come off that way. I just think, like, if we're gonna
Hmm.
do this, we really need to out everywhere so they don't have a place to hide this shit, right? Like, if people think that they don't do this stuff on
Hmm.
Mackinac Island and you can go to Mackinac and support it because it's a great place, then,
Right.
like, I find that as a problem. Like, tourism can be a problem because they weaponize tourism to cover this shit.
Right. Yeah, Michigan to like Pure Michigan or something. Can't remember. They
With
used to have a can when
Tim Allen, Tim the Toolman Allen, pure
maybe,
Michigan.
yeah. Is that did they still do that? Pure Michigan?
I
Yeah,
think
see,
he's
that
still the
was when
voice of it, or he was.
I'm pretty sure that was running when we were there,
Yeah.
in Ann Arbor.
Well, and the cities have adopted it. Like there's pure Charlevoix, there's pure other places. So they've
Oh,
adopted that kind of marketing. And,
yeah. That's like
it's a
that's
interesting
pure,
place to
so it's
hide.
pure this, pure that. Yeah, so then it's like everywhere there's a mass shooting, then they have like strong, it's like Vegas strong, Detroit strong,
Right.
wherever there's a shooting strong. Yeah. It's weird how those things get, put.
But when we
So,
talk
but
about like, you talk about billionaires going to visit Bohemian Grove, like the amount of billionaires that reside in northern Michigan or in that lake region on
mhm,
on Lake Michigan itself
right.
is outrageous. And it's very hidden
Yeah.
because nobody
Yeah.
pays attention to it and they get snow. Who cares about them, right? But no,
Yeah.
that's their
Well,
hideaways. That's their
um,
secret tunnels. That's where they go.
yeah,
That's where
I'm
John
glad we
Benet
got,
Ramsey's family was going the morning that they discovered her. They were going to take off and go to Michigan.
yeah, I didn't know that.
Hmm.
But I'm glad I got to spend a lot of time there because I have a sense of it. Not a really good sense, not like I know out here, but yeah, I mean, you can just see like all the water around it. I mean,
Yeah,
talk about islands, and
there's a
stuff
lot.
like
Like up above in the UP there under the little hook that's up top on Copper
yeah,
Harbor, there's islands
right.
all across that coast up top.
Yeah,
And most of them are so dangerous, nobody goes there. There's a lot of uninhabited islands there that are tourist spots. You can go and hike around, but you can't bring a car or something.
right. Yeah. Yeah, and you can also see just how much of the state itself is water. So the gray lines are the state borders, and then the
Hmm.
thicker one is the international border. But
Well, and
everything
we're
within
on,
that,
yeah, everything
hmm
within that. Exactly. I didn't mean to cut you off. We're on the international
no.
borders. Those are high trafficking spots. So we
Yeah,
have a
right,
lot of them.
exactly. Yeah, and if you look at it, the maps, I mean, hopefully they're not labeled. If there's Tennessee,
Yeah.
Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan, Canada. And that's those
Corrupted
were
corridor.
yeah, trafficking corridors. That was like a big trafficking corridor. There's also a lot, if you look at like if you, one way to like understand history is US history is to look at the shapes of the states because um
Hmm.
a lot of the ways that they're defined had to do with geographical boundaries. So you see it a lot like around Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia. That's the Ohio River, especially at the point where Kentucky and Ohio meet, which is Cincinnati
Yeah.
and Newport, Kentucky. Those were huge trafficking points. It had to do with trafficking transportation. So the rivers and then different routes that they would take to move things. And do move things even now. Anyway, so yeah, Michigan
Yeah, that whole region,
is
even down
important.
into Kentucky and stuff, there's a lot there.
Hmm.
Because of like the down tip of Kentucky connects so close to, I mean, you're almost right to Texas in a couple of hours. So you can really get out of the country from the Midwest in a lot of different directions easily if your goal is trafficking of different things. And a lot of people don't. I mean, it's a drive, but it's not hard. And it's such like dirt road, back road. It was for a long time. I mean, now there's highways and stuff down there, but still you go down to Kentucky and that region and it's still backwoods style in a lot of places. So,
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's underrated. It's underrated for sure. But
Yeah,
a lot of your billionaires, a lot of your corrupt seats have hidden seats in the Midwest because it's unlikely. They have bigger properties. They have their expansion storage places. They have all kinds of vacation properties galore.
right. Yeah, hunting properties, stuff like that,
Well, the
probably.
hunting properties in the UP is an issue. A lot of the survivors that discuss those hunting parties they attend could very well have been done in the UP hidden and no one would have known. Like through the Hiawatha Forest and some of the other forests up there, there's not a lot going on. And your DNR officers in your national parks, they're put in for life. So as long as you get them on your side, and I'm not making allegations. I don't know any of those DNR officers. They're probably wonderful, great people, Ubers. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, the position
Hmm.
itself is pretty much appointed for life. You're kind of there until you're not. And so if somebody wanted to run something through our parks or through those places or through the forests and stuff, you just got to have one or two guys on your path, and then a lot could be hidden.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that's,
I get it. I feel like I kind of get it from just the few years that we were up there. Do you know that Luna is she's from Orange County? Did you know that?
I did not know that, but it makes sense.
Yeah, she was born in Santa Ana.
Cool.
I don't know what she's quite animated. I like not too deep into the politics, but I like seeing her giving them all hell. They tried to like low-key slut shame her, I think, and some other
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
And So I didn't like that very much. But yeah, she grew up here. I think she was raised by a single mom, bounced around some, even lived in Irvine for a bit. And then obviously, you know, made something of herself for sure. I think she has a significant degree like biology or something. People that get degrees like that from college, I kind of take note, because that's not an easy thing to do. It's a substantial thing to do. You can graduate from college without taking hard classes. And
Yeah.
then she served in the Air Force and she's given people hell. I don't know everything about her, but I do like to see that. I'm just mentioning that because it popped up.
Yeah, she's definitely a
Apparently,
feisty one.
she's in my algorithm. Apparently, I'm supposed to be hearing about her. 'Cause actually, I wanted to. So I don't know what if any of this will be worth keeping or what, but just since we're talking, I was going to show you. So I started
Yeah.
posting about this last night because I mean, like that picture, not because I'm endorsing it, but because Dana Doodah was posting about Marjorie Cameron, who was married. Were they married? She was with Jack Parsons for years, like they were together. So the guy,
I mean, she has
rock
Parsons' name, so.
the rocket scientist. Yes, I think they were married, and then I think L. Ron Hubbard swooped in and stole her from him or something like that. But they're all in it together. So I'm going to go through like what I posted. So I just started last night. I just started posting things that it wasn't really the main thing I was doing, but I wanted to just note it. And I was basically doing it under this post. So
She's
this is
another
for
one
the
Midwest to that region. She's from Iowa and then out to Pasadena.
yeah, Iowa. And then Pasadena itself is quite a place. That's where Caltech and JPL are, Jet
Yeah.
Propulsion Laboratory. I think they might be locking you out of Flint Ridge, but it's or Eagle Rock up there, but it's all Pasadena.
Hmm.
Yeah, so this is a heck of a thing, you know, a serpent-tongued woman having sex with an alien, deemed lewd by LAPD, you know.
I mean, yeah, it's
So
pretty lewd. It's interesting. If it's
yeah.
lewd
So
enough for LAPD to discuss it, like what the hell?
1955, you know, and again, you know, 1955. So this is in that same era where, you know, we were talking about Reagan and the House um, Un-American Activities Committee.
Yeah,
It'd be coming on the heels of that. So 1955. I'd just like to put it in time. Like 1955 is when that's the year Rebel Without a Cause was published, you know, premiered. So James Dean, Natalie Wood, that whole thing. Um, is a
interesting
significant movie for sure. And then there's this one. So
for
this
the
is a,
OTO.
I didn't write it here. Maybe it says it on, I didn't write it because it's in the caption. Hand-drawn astrological chart for Jack Parsons, no date. So this is art that the artist, muse, and witch, Marjorie Cameron, made, you know, hand for Jack Parsons, the super rocket scientist that, you know, helped us catch up to the Russians and achieve parity in the space race and a bunch of other stuff. JPL. You know, JPL, the place where the scientists are going missing and dead. That JPL.
That's
The
interesting.
JPL that's kind of underneath the defense industry. I mean, you can have Northrop Grumman and Rockwell and you know, all just all of them, General Dynamics, all of these companies, right? But they don't teach their own engineers and scientists, right? They go to school somewhere, and one of the main places they go, one of the top places is Caltech, JPL. So you got, you know, you have NASA, rockets, Satanism, witches, astrology, occult, you know, all of that going on. So I just thought it was significant. And I did not know. I mean, after a stint in the Navy as a cartographer, I mean, what? I
It's a
did not
pretty
know she
interesting
was
connection.
in the Navy as a cartographer. So the same Navy that, you know, that L. Ron Hubbard's associated with. I mean, Borg, you know, they had their ships, they all dressed in their weird uniforms, Navy.
Yeah,
You know, the whole, so then, you know, I see this,
yeah.
I basically, you know, borrowed
Mhm.
this image, but this image was posted by someone who was like a, like a real, it's a pro-Satanist account that doesn't advertise itself as such, but if you just scroll the timeline, that's all he's posting about. So I borrowed this image from him. Um, and, you know, it's like basically happy birthday, her. Okay, so that's that. And then here, I thought this was rather significant. See that? Jack
Uh-huh.
Parsons on the left, the witch in the middle, and then L. Ron Hubbard on the right. And the L. Ron Hubbard and Parsons were doing their, you know, their weird stuff. The
Yeah.
Mojave Desert. The Mojave Desert is the Southern California desert. I mean, not the only one, but it's like the main Southern California desert. And so it's where a lot of the bases are, like 29 Palms, Fort Irwin. I think they named the deserts a couple of different things, so I'm not sure exactly what's in which desert, but it's basically that vast expanse out in Riverside, San Bernardino, Inyo, Kern counties, kind of just out east of the coast and then out toward Arizona and Nevada. So they're out there doing this stuff,
Wow.
right? And then if you want,
She was
you can
carried
look
out
at,
in death by the high priestess of the OTO, and she's cremated and scattered in the Mojave Desert too.
yeah. And then so what I say here is too is it's just stuff that I was coming, so I wasn't researching her, you know. What I was really looking at is I'm kind of like I have kind of like standing orders to look at things that are related to, so things especially right now, Bryce Taylor, you know, who's Sue Ford is her real name, Los Angeles and California generally, Orange County very specifically, SC, and then downtown, between downtown and South Central LA. It's right in the middle of lots of things. And so then I was reading something that researcher Dana Dudod published about Solar Lodge, you know, which I don't know that much about, but I know that it was in LA and I know that it was right at USC, um, and that it was in the mid to late 60s, maybe into the 70s. So I knew that much. And then that's what I'm saying here, you know. I was looking at Solar Lodge, Bryce Taylor, and USC circa 65 to 75, you know. And then I want people to go to her if they want to know more. Just
Yeah.
I know there are other researchers. There might be more that know even more about it than she does, that those specific things, but that she's a good resource. So that's like where I'm pointing to when I go to look at stuff, and then I go from there. But like
Hmm.
for myself, you know, I went to USC, I know the area, and I'm reading Bryce Taylor, and I'm wondering how many people have actually read her book because, you know, I don't hear people talking very much about the things that she was discussing in detail. And she was very specific, and I thought she wrote with, the more I read her, the more impressed I am about her insight, her introspection, and internal consistency of her story or narrative. You know, a lot of it is hard, almost impossible to believe. She makes these really um, extreme claims, and she did it. She published it in 1999. But the more we learn about things with the Epstein files and other revelations,
Yeah.
the less incredible it becomes. And
Yeah, it is.
so I've really been looking at her. And also, she got the whistleblower treatment, what I call the whistleblower treatment, in a way that others like Cathy O'Brien don't and haven't. And so it doesn't prove anything, but it makes me think that people don't want known what she had to say,
Yeah.
which makes me want to know what she had to say, which is why I'm reading the book and paying such close attention. So having done all of that, I haven't published what I'm actually working on because I'm going to show this to you because um, I just published like a few things that were adjacent to it. And you see like some of the things I ask about, but I think it might be under. I think it's under here. I started reading about it. I can even check this. I start with here's Dana talking about Marjorie Cameron had her own cult as well, parallel to Solar Lodge and the families. Solar Lodge, I know, has to do with OTO and was in LA by USC. And then the family, I know Dana means
Like
Manson, Charles
Manson's family.
Manson. And she says, so Manson's crap about the hidey holes in the desert was actually Manson wanted to find the right hole to use as a portal to recreate the Babylon working. The
Oh,
lodge was trying to do the same via pyramid, the pyramid out in the desert. So these are people writing about it that know a lot more than I do. Like they're actively researching it in a way that I'm not. See, here's another one, RJ Moreau. So I don't know a lot, but I know enough, you know. I mean, I know about what they're talking about, and then this rather long thread. Ron Hubbard's son thought he was Satan, said he thought he was Satan in the Antichrist and all that. Okay, alien galactic confederacy, you know,
there's a lot of that in
there's
Mormonism, and they don't act like they are the alien spiritual weirdo believers, and that's what I think. I think
the
that's where a lot of it
Mormons.
hides. Yeah, the Scientology.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the head of Scientology was a Mormon for a long time,
Right.
Heber Jench. I mean, so those two, they have a lot in common. They have a lot of similarities, including the space stuff, which is super weird. Um, I know that a lot of the girls and young women have said that their part of their spiritual abuse was that they felt like they had to stay within Mormonism because their eternal salvation
Yeah,
depended on it, and that it had to do with getting their own planet, you know, at the
absolutely.
end of
Yeah.
a successful Mormon life on Earth. That might sound crazy if you're not in their group, their religion, their cult, whatever you want to think of it as. But if you're not in it, you're out of it, that can look crazy. But if
Hmm.
that's all you've ever known and that's how you were raised, it's your family, it's everything, then that's going to be a heck of a thing. So yeah, both Scientology and Mormonism go really far on the space stuff,
Yeah.
space mythology. So anyway, that was where I started. So I ask questions about it. Sometimes I just start with like I get 3 bullet points from Grok just to see what the deal is. Let me see if there's anything in here that was new to me. I kind of knew this, but I didn't know about 1946. I didn't know about that exactly. Crowley. I guess that you're supposed to say Crowley, but I always knew it as Crowley. Anyway, then there's that. So then I want to know, so you can see like what my specific interest is. I want to
Yeah.
know about the Solar Lodge. By the way, so this can be published if you want. I don't know if it'll be that interesting because I mean to write something about this, but I don't care. You can publish anything we talk about. But look at this. Isn't this fascinating? So there's the Solar Lodge, which is like part of this OTO. OTO being, do you know what that is? OTO?
Yeah. Yeah. The
Yeah,
Otis
so
Tempora or whatever.
exactly. Really dark. If you're a
They're a
Christian,
Mason derivative, right? Is that how that works?
um,
Ordo
I
Templi Orientis, U.S.
it's
Grand Lodge.
I well, I think of it as it like it's directly related to
Yeah.
Crowley,
Yeah.
whatever. And so that means it's really dark. Um, you know,
Says they were the first of the great orders to accept the Book of Law that was received by Crowley in 1904.
right. So, and they're going to be in league. And so I kind of think of it too, like, at least as I understand it from Fiona Barnett, who says that, there's a lot of these groups, there's a hierarchy, but they're kind of in it all together. And most of them have order in their name. So, there's the order of this and the order of that. And I think of this one as the Order of Crowley. That's how I think of it. And I think a lot of the like Order of Nine Angles and 764 and stuff, I think they're kind of falling under this mythology. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I agree.
So I don't, but I'm not speaking with a lot of intelligence about it. It's just,
Well, we
it's a
can do a
thing.
topic on this. I know that Dana did a lot of research. Maybe we could show one of her little pieces or something like that
That would be
to
really good to give it
highlight something.
context.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not even dismissing it. I just don't want to claim more knowledge than I have.
Right,
A
right.
lot of
Same.
times I'll just kind of like have a box and it's sort of like, okay, this is, black magic, occult, evil, Satan box related to Crawley.
Yeah.
And then I'll have it like, okay, that's that. It's not that I don't care or think that there isn't a lot more to it. It's just that I have limited bandwidth. And so if I can kind of put it like that and go, okay, well, then that's that. So that's kind of how I hold it now. But then check this out. So this is the part I wanted you to know about. So it has this Solar Lodge has its headquarters basically at USC. It's the surrounding property, but USC campus, it's a urban campus. It's in the middle of the city, so there's some dorms and things on campus, but then there's a lot of housing off campus. And so even if it's not part of the central campus proper, it's still basically like campus for a few streets adjacent. But I just wanted to talk about this.
Yeah.
So Solar Lodge, it's like unofficial OTO, but this thing, it has its headquarters. This is what Dana's talking about, like that's parallel to OTO. I mean, it's not just parallel to OTO somewhere. Marjorie Cameron, the witch of LA, the muse for Hubbard and Parsons, who both do, stuff. It's like her thing. And then, so from 66 to 69 at USC, that was when USC was winning football national championships with O.J. Simpson. Some of
Yeah.
the people might know him.
Yeah.
He's famous in
Yeah.
football, and then he was, infamous
For his
after.
Bronco.
Exactly. Okay, then check this out. 65. So 1965, just like I'm always thinking of things on like a timeline. 1965 is when so that's the year that UC Irvine was established. It's not a very old school. It's also when the Brotherhood of Eternal Love is going in Laguna Beach with
Mm,
LSD and Orange Sunshine and all of that before. So Timothy Leary is there. He's there before, the Bay Area, Orange County. And it's also when it's either the year or the year before Children of God is founded in Huntington Beach. And so to give
mm.
you an idea, like from where I am, the Laguna Beach is just south and Huntington Beach is just north. And then
Wow.
Newport Beach is in the middle. And then where I'm at UC Irvine is just adjacent to that.
The seat of
So anyway,
corruption.
1965, it's established. And then there's other stuff going on in Hollywood in the large area. This is just before, it's a few years before, well, before Manson, before all of that, before kind of like the end of Innocence and the end of the 60s. It's also, I think, Near the, Kennedy's been assassinated. Johnson is now president. Vietnam has already kind of started, although it hasn't become huge yet. It's already started. Anyway, 65 to 65, 66. People acquired properties around USC to 67, but expansion. They headquartered near the campus, which is basically like on the campus. Like 30th Street is right there. I
Hmm.
mean, 30th Street is almost across the street. Mansions. So it's also an old part of LA, so there's a lot of really big California ranch style homes around there. Check this out. They also ran the Eye of Horus bookstore
Yeah.
directly across from USC School of Dentistry. Okay, I mean, come on, right? Later moved to West 8th Street. I actually lived on 8th Street for a while. That's more by downtown. Many new members were USC students. And
Wow.
then they started building their Desert Arc solar ranch in 67. But the LA USC base remained their central location, and go to 68. They're using houses for rituals, initiations, and daily operations. Like what rituals are they doing? Because it gets
Boy in the
dark
box.
fast with these people. Yeah. And then 69 onward. Then they end up kind of going out to the desert and then they get in trouble. So they got to kind of shut it down and rebrand it and relocate.
That can't be far from the desert where Manson was hanging around in Spawn Ranch, is it?
A little bit, because if they're talking about Blythe, I'm going to show you where that is.
Hmm.
Blythe is on the Colorado River between California and Arizona. I think
Oh,
I think maybe um, Interstate 10 goes right through there. So we'll check that out. If it does, 10 is the it's the Christopher Columbus Intercontinental Interstate Highway, I think, is its long
yeah.
name, but it goes from Santa Monica, California to I think Jacksonville, Florida, or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But it crosses the country, and through it, it goes through a bunch of places, and it's a major trafficking route, west to east, east to west. So their main base is USC. 30th Street's practically across the street. The bookstore's across from the dental school, and it's active in the 60s, mid to late 60s. Okay, so
Wow.
that's that. So then I say, Bryce Taylor, she wrote an entire chapter about USC and specifically about the dental school where her husband was a student,
What?
right? So chapter 24. I ask about this. So I'm thinking she was born in 1951. So I'm thinking, in 65, that means she's 14, and 69, she's 18, right? And
Oof.
that's kind of young for most people, but for her, she's got a lot going on in her life at that time when she's those ages. And then I don't know how much you want to read about this, but I mean,
Wow.
she's
All
talking
in
about it
foundation.
right. Yeah, I mean, right. I know this because it's in the book, but I don't think many people have read it, so I don't think many people know it. That this major whistleblower who was talking about the same things that Cathy O'Brien was talking about, but was publishing it first and also was contemporary with her, like not just the same time, but in the same place talking to her.
The
And it
dental
was
school thing
actually
lines with what Epstein's stories are talking about too, with these MK Ultra
right.
experiments tied to her husband's attendance here on the USC campus.
Yeah, very much so. Because she talks about let's see how they put it, because they probably put it in a at least a little bit sanitized way, because she's very explicit in her book about
Mm-hmm.
what her deal was. So she says, yeah, she wasn't a dental student, but was on campus all the time, which is basically what she says. She's there all the time, and her husband is there. Now, something that's not here is she says her husband was also controlled and programmed. She didn't know it at the time. Um, but he was a part of the program too, according to
That
her.
that
So,
makes sense.
programmed to work as a dental assistant for a specific dental school graduate, Dr. Jacoby, and service USC administrators, department heads, alumni, the dean of the dental school, and others, including at hotels, football. This is not correct. They don't play basketball games at the Coliseum. They play them at the Galen Center now, but back then, I'm pretty sure they played it in it's called the Old North Gym on campus. But
Mm.
anyway, football at the Coliseum. the Coliseum, where that's hosted two Olympics and will be hosting a third in 2028. I don't think any other place has done that, which is right across the street from USC. So that's what she's talking about, alumni events.
Mm.
Alumni events being a really big deal at USC, more than other places. It's a private school, so it's largely privately driven and funded, and a lot of people give it a lot of money, quote unquote, give it because they buy things in return, and USC has a lot to offer. So if you go to the campus there, you'll see like the names on the building are like Spielberg, Lucas, stuff like that.
It says, I like the sentence. I don't like the sentence, but it's interesting. Framed USC as a pilot site for creating enhanced citizens. That would
Yeah,
explain
that's
why
what,
everybody who has some sort of a weird story comes out of USC. Not weird bad, but just like some
yeah.
weird shit is going on. There's a USC connection. Huh.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not very fun for me to learn about things like this because I have, a lot of good memories and some fondness for the place, but I'm interested in the truth and I want to know what's really going on. And so, that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, map of USC campus for tasks. When it wrote that, I actually thought like, well, I kind of have a map of USC in my mind too, but that was just because I was there, know where everything was, from it's not a very big place. And I mean, I know where all the stuff is, except for the stuff they've added or taken down. I mean, she's talking about something different, but I knew that. And then here, these events occurred amid the Nixon, Ford, and Reagan as governor eras. So this is important too, because at different times, different places will be prominent or will matter in certain ways. So, like for instance, South Florida and the Caribbean matters a lot for with what's going on with Epstein, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's West Palm
Yeah.
Beach, Mar-a-Lago, because I mean, that's where it's going on, and it was going on there and not on this coast. I mean, we have our own stuff going on, but here, when Bryce Taylor is talking about USC and Southern California and different things about that, it's during the time where a lot of what was happening was connected to this place. So Nixon was from Orange County, Yorba Linda. When he was president, he had the Western White House in San Clemente, which is the most southern city in coastal Orange County. And then you go south from San Clemente is Camp Pendleton, and then after that, San Diego County. So Camp
Mm.
Pendleton being a huge thing. But then also Reagan. Reagan was an actor, and then president of the Screen Actors Guild, and then governor, and then Ford succeeded Nixon. And so she's talking about all of these people, and these people are in California a lot of the time. So even more than usual, it's having a lot of influence on events, and a lot of this stuff is getting done out here. And it aligns with the broader context of her memoir's claims about her role, 73 to 77 places her early to mid 50s, 20s. It's got to give the disclosure, about it's a conspiracy, she's saying some crazy things, but yeah, like makes more and more sense over time from my perspective. So then I say this, please write all this up because I'm thinking I want to see how these two things go together. And then I have this, and then from this, like I'm not going to copy and paste it, but I'm going to use this to kind of write something that basically talks about, let me see, I think it puts it, it's writing it from my perspective. I would never say it like that, but
Mhm.
I think somewhere in here it makes the point that, which is what the main point I thought of is at USC you have the Solar Lodge. It's running in the late 60s, and then you have Bryce Taylor coming right after that when she's talking about when she's at USC, and they're both right at where the dental school is. And then, you think about like dental school, just how important that was to like some aspects of the Epstein files, dental
Correct.
chairs,
Yeah.
different procedures. I think one of his girlfriends was he's sent to dental school or something. And just a lot of it going around USC and that. So that's a whole lot of talk about things that I think are really curious. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many places and there's so many universities and there's so many ways that somebody could be involved with things. Like, how's all that going on at that one specific place? And then here, since you'd asked about the desert.
Is it all going
This
on at
is
one specific place and not have corrupt ties, given everything else that's been corrupt and was adjacent to those areas? That's where it's like,
right. Yeah, and I think a lot of people I think USC has been used as a place to, it's a real university where lots of people are doing things. They're going to school, or if they're teaching, but they're pursuing things, they're doing stuff, and it's not with regard to this necessarily, but people are interested in certain things, and I think they can use the school as kind of a way to get things done. So, if you look at like the fact that Snoop Dogg was the commencement speaker last year for the business school at the Coliseum, the same place they're talking about here, where they have the football games, where they host the Olympics, where he was being promoted in a huge way at students' graduation. They're just trying to celebrate their moment, and it's being used to really promote this person in a way. And so a lot of people give money to the school. I say give with like quote unquote give because they get something in return. And then like, what do they get? So that's a lot of the stuff with Reagan and other things that are associated with it. And so Annenberg, if people know that name, Walter Annenberg, he is really big in media. He owned TV Guide and some other publications that were important ways that information was delivered. And then also, and who was I thinking of that was adjacent in the same way? I mean, there are actually quite a few people. But anyway, the school, I think, gets used as a place to promote things, shape things. And so it's kind of like the Ivy Leagues in a way, but in a different realm. So on the West Coast, and aligned with media and entertainment more than politics and government and academia, formal academia. I don't know if that makes sense.
no, it
Here,
does.
you were asking about the Mojave Desert. Here it says like that this here is the Mojave National Preserve, but the
Yeah.
desert itself is larger than this. So it'll extend outward. I think this is just like the preserve itself. And then at some point there'll be another desert. So like more down this way, I think is the Sonora Desert, maybe. But mainly when people talk about it, they'll talk about the Mojave Desert, which is most of this region, not just the preserve, like all around it. And pretty much if it's like the tan color, it's desert. So you can see like a lot of, I don't think people realize that a lot of California is just desert like that, Southern California.
Yeah. Your people are all smashed in one area basically, and then everything else is
Yeah,
very
there aren't
sparsely
a whole lot of
populated.
people, right? There aren't a whole lot of people that live here. And you can kind of get an idea. Well, you can see where I am. I'm there.
Yeah.
You can see where Anaheim, Long Beach, LA, where things are related to each other. I was talking about like Huntington, and let me see if I can get to it's funny when it decides to put things on the map and not. So, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what it takes. Oh, there's Laguna Beach. So, going like north to south along the coast, in fact, here's all of Orange County on the coast. Starts where it says Belmont Shore part. That is the top of, so Long Beach, Belmont Shore, that's LA County. And then right across the river that washes Seal Beach. The Seal Beach is the start of Orange County. So that's the county line right there.
Okay.
And then there's Seal Beach. Some of these beaches are named, but they're not cities. So basically, it's Seal Beach, Huntington Beach, Newport. There's Newport, Laguna. So you could consider Crystal Cove. So that's
Yeah.
state park, but it's basically Newport, Laguna, and then Dana Point. By the way, yeah, Dana Point. It's where there's Monarch Beach
Monarch
somewhere
Beach
around
right
here.
behind, right up from it. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, yeah. Funny.
Interesting.
Dana Point, San Juan
San Clemente.
Capistrano, and then San Clemente, and then that's it. So it's not very much of the coastline. It's just a little bit right there. And then look at how big Camp Pendleton is, though. It's massive
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many. It's like I think it's 17 miles of coast, just a base right
Well,
there.
I've driven from Carlsbad through there, and that's
Yeah,
where, I mean, it's a pretty long drive and a lot of fog
right.
and a lot of strange sights that I never
There's
expected.
fog. It's one of the most this beautiful beach right here.
Mhm.
All and it's just military. And look at how far deep in it goes too. So yeah, that's Camp Pendleton. Then this is the start of San Diego County.
Yeah.
So Camp Pendleton is in San Diego County, so that's the county line. And then this part's called North County, all of this. So Oceanside, Carlsbad, um, some of these are really great beaches: Encinitas, Solana Beach, Del Mar, then La Jolla. So that's
Mhm.
La Jolla. That's where UCSD is. And then La Jolla, Bird Rock, Pacific Beach. And then, we talked about Point Loma. That's where Wendy
Mhm.
Miller went to college there.
Mhm.
Coronado Island. Top of that, that's a base, North Naval Air Station.
Mhm.
Aircraft carriers here. This is a huge, deep port.
Yeah.
San Diego Bay, and then Imperial Beach, and then Mexico. So anyway, but we were talking about, you were asking about like where Blythe was, I think,
Yeah, it was
weren't
on
you?
there when
Yeah,
you
you were.
were looking through it. It was,
Yes, it's out here. So see, here's Blythe right here.
yeah.
And you see, I mean, it's a small place, but it's on the river. Yeah, I was right. So look at this. This is the 10 freeway that goes across the
Yep.
entire nation, the 10, and it
Wow.
goes right through Blythe right here, which is right on the Colorado River, which is what defines the state boundary. So on the left is California, on the right is Arizona, and if you go up a bit, you can see the Colorado River, and then it's going to go through. There's Lake Havasu. People talk about that. That's where London Bridge is now. And then it goes up, and then, it's funny. They spell Mojave different here.
Yeah.
Same thing. Mojave, Mojave. It's like Mackinac, Mackinac
Yeah.
and Mackinac. Needles is another place. And Needles is like that, but on the 40. And then just to give you an idea, that's where
And then you're in
Vegas
Vegas.
is. And yeah, so
It's easy
anyway,
to
and
see
they're
why this
like,
is a trafficking hotspot.
right? Yeah, and there's lots of stuff out here too. So just so you know, so there's like, there's Orange County and LA, kind of the main part of what's going on. And then kind of directly east, kind of coming out the 10 is like, if you follow it, it'll go from like the 10 will be in Santa Monica.
Mhm.
This will be fun. Do this. Where's the 10? Mar
Right there
Vista.
above
That's
Culver
where
City.
Anne Hesh, where her car went out of
Yeah.
control right there. Mar Vista. But anyway, so the 10 starts here in Santa Monica. It actually goes and it turns into, so it doesn't dead end, it turns into, you only go north on it, but it goes to Palisades, that burned down, then Topanga Canyon, famous, and
Wow.
then Malibu. And then Malibu is really big, long, south-facing beach. It's another thing. Malibu is a south-facing beach.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
That is
Pepperdine
crazy.
University. Bryce Taylor talks about that a lot. So I went to
Yeah.
school there. Now, here, I'll show you, since we're doing this, where I lived on campus for the first year, and then I had a lot of friends who lived on Point Dume.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing to like a residential neighborhood in Malibu. And then mainly I lived right above this beach up here, Zuma and Broad Beach. So Zuma is a really cool beach, but where's Broad Beach? It's gonna be like around here somewhere. What? It's weird. It's a big beach. They're just not naming it. It's right there. Hannah Montana's house view. I don't know what that is.
So that's more
Anyway,
important. That's interesting.
yeah. And then this is rugged, like Santa Monica Mountains here. People don't realize that either. And then here's the other sides. This is like where the Kardashians are and all of that. They're all up here on the
Oh,
other side in the LA Valley. I mean, in the San Fernando Valley.
Thousand Oaks. I
Simi
see.
Valley, Thousand Oaks, all of that's up here. And then Calabasas. So you get to Calabasas from Malibu here, Malibu Canyon. That's where the Getty is, the other
Mhm.
Getty, where I took my last class. Um, and then Agora Hills, and then this is Keenan Doom, Paramount Ranch. Keenan Doom takes you to Point Doom. And then Woodland Hills, that's where Bryce Taylor was born. That's where she's from,
Mhm.
a lot of it. This is where the porn industry is up here, all of this.
Mhm.
And then it's kind of considered Hollywood, and then Hollywood is
Where
here,
is, just real quick, we
basically.
won't go into it, but you were going back over where Bryce Taylor was. Northridge is up to the left of there, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. Woodland Hills, where's Northridge? Where the heck is
I
Northridge?
want to say it's off of like,
Right here,
yeah, it's not
right
far.
there. No, no, and see how it's kind of flat too in a grid. So this is just like house after house after house is, like home neighborhoods are just like lots of houses. Lots of people live here. It's densely populated. But it used to just be, open space. It was developed
There it is,
after
Porter
the
Ranch. Porter
city.
Ranch is actually where we were.
Oh, where's that?
Up, straight up from Northridge, if you just keep going.
Oh,
It's on
okay,
the
yeah,
highway.
here. Yeah, yeah. I've heard of it. I don't know that I've ever even been there.
So it's on the other side of the highway. That's not that far. Like the other highway on that. That's interestingly close.
Yeah, yeah. So and then the geography kind of dictates things too. So you have like this green part, these are rugged mountains. This here in the middle is the valley. And then in the valley, I should say too, a lot of these are not separate cities. This is all part of LA city. That's how big LA is.
Wow.
And then here, these are kind of there's also there's a lot of stuff going on. So the valley is kind of denigrated as far as like places go, like Valley Girl, you don't want to be in the valley. But
Mhm.
but it's not that simple because, like Calabasas and Agora Hills, I think that's not really considered the valley proper, but obviously those are, it's horse country. It's really nice. Mainly talking about this part.
What about Valley of the Dolls?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that movie and I don't know what it's about. I actually need to watch it and learn. I don't even know if that has to do with the LA Valley or something else, or if it's just a metaphorical valley. I really don't know.
Mm.
But then, like here, you can see as you get close to. Let me see. How can I? Are you looking it up? I should
Yeah, I
look
was
it
gonna
up.
see if it'll tell me, but it's
I
not.
should look. I should use my whiteboard, like Wikipedia or something. Yeah, like
Naive New Yorker becomes the secretary at a theatrical law firm where she falls in love with attorney and befriends upcoming singer whose dynamic talent threatens aging star Helen and beautiful but talentless actress Jennifer North, which is Sharon Tate. The women experience success and failure in love and work, leading to heartbreak, addiction, and tragedy. So it's nothing about it's New York City.
yeah, yeah.
But
So
it's
it
weird
doesn't.
because I mean, like her next, not far after that was when she was in, so that was in '67, and then she was in that
Right.
movie, and then was in Cielo Drive House.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So I guess it's not that. But I actually I didn't really know.
That's interesting.
One way or the other. Was I looking at this?
So
Here,
Los
I think
Angeles is, yeah, you've got quite a seat of.
it's, yeah, it's really big. So, like, I have to figure out how to show the cursor or use a pointer on this. That would be helpful.
Have you ever heard anything about Van Nuys? Because I remember it from driving around when we were there. Wow, y'all have a GM plant. That makes sense. So it's not that makes sense. So maybe that's why it is like that. When
Yeah,
you look
it's
it up,
kind
it
of
says it's a
like,
center of intense crime,
I mean, I really
significant
don't
legal
think of,
proceedings, and major urban
I mean, I'm
transformation.
I'm
And there was
mindful that
a,
people live in all of these
yeah,
places,
and there
and
was a
for the
68
most
acre
part, people
General
are
Motors
trying
assembly
to
plant that
just
was raised
live
in
life and do the
93.
best that they can. But anyway, it's not the most desirable place to be because so it's expensive.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
but its real desirability is its proximity to other places. So you can kind of tell how it's centrally located, but it's not like the place you would want to be if you could be somewhere else, and somewhere else being like pretty much all the other. Really? I didn't know that.
Oof.
That's what it says about Van Nuys. Yeah. 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 So, a lot of do you know Chinatown and the story of water and bringing it to LA and all of that? That's something to do a deep dive on or to it could be explained. But basically, I mean, I actually think the movie tells the story in a way that makes it really accessible and interesting, which is wild because, it's a Polanski movie that stars Jack Nicholson and was produced by Bob Evans. So it's got like these kind of bad people all around it, but it tells the story in a
Wow.
way, it's historical fiction, but the history's pretty good. Um, And it stands for the idea and the proposition that for LA to
Okay.
even be on the map, because it's kind of desert, like we were looking at, it needed water. And without water, it's not a viable city. And so what do you do? And then basically what they did was they got it from Northern
Mm,
California mainly. And there were huge water wars over it and all sorts of shenanigans. I mean, including like literal wars, where
wow.
they're fighting turf wars and people are dying fighting over this property and the water. But it comes to LA, and then the valley itself
Yeah.
is what they
I
built
didn't know that
and
was
when they could
66.
provide
Wow.
water to the area.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah. Well,
because
that's the
otherwise it doesn't
66.
really
Isn't
make
that what
sense. And then
Isaac
there's
Happy
LA, and you
wasn't he
can kind of
found on
see like on here,
66?
like, so here's where Pasadena is, right
Oh,
here.
that's
And then up in, so Pasadena, this is where they run the parade route and stuff. But you see CIT, California Institute of Technology, that's Caltech. It's right there. It's right by Pasadena City College, which is a really
yeah.
important community college, maybe one of the most important ever, Pasadena City College. But it's right by
Yep.
Caltech. Everybody calls it Caltech. Pasadena. It's where the Rose Parade is and all that. Then the Rose, what, Route 66? Yeah, which goes to Chicago. I think he was on 40, but I-40. Yeah. But anyway, and then the Rose Bowl is here, and then somewhere up in here is JPL, up in these foothills somewhere.
Yeah.
La Cañada. See, they say La Cañada Flint Ridge. It's up here. So a lot of people live up here. Yeah, there it is. See, there's JPL, right? JPL Von Carmen, paperclip guy. Walking out of Flint Ridge, which is basically Pasadena. It's just,
Mm,
it's up in the hills. And then, then these are big cities. So I always think of it as like Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena. They all go together, but they're not quite like that. And you see, like, here's Griffith Park. So this is Hollywood. This is Hollywood. Burbank is like on the other side of the mountains or the hills. There are all these canyons that go through. And then this is Hollywood. All this area here in the middle, this is where, like here, if you look at it like that, this is really expensive real
mm-hmm.
estate, really nice stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
like there's the Hollywood sign right there. This Hollywood. So
Mm-hmm.
down here on the grid, this is Hollywood right here. All this Hollywood. Then up above it are just, it's amazing. So this is where they're up in the hills. Depending on where you are, there's like amazing views of the
Mm-hmm.
whole LA basin. If you ever see it, where there's just like the lights of the city that go forever, that's up here. You can see the streets, Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset. See, Hollywood ends. Sunset goes all the way to the beach. Sunset goes all the way to the beach and Palisades. And up here, it's, well, and I'll show you one more thing. So then there's Beverly Hills. So Beverly Hills is here. They call this, at least they used to when I was there, they called this part the flats and this part the hills. So this is 90211. This is 90210. Up here is the expensive part,
Yeah.
But then, so Truesdale Estates, so the main street on
Wow.
campus at USC's Truesdale, just to give you an
That is
idea. And then
interesting.
Laurel Canyon, of course, is famous. Lookout Mountain, that's where, Lookout Air Force Base was.
Mm.
Wonderland, right? And then just down in from here, somewhere in here will be Cielo Drive. Cielo Drive somewhere in here. I can't remember exactly. It's somewhere in there. All these canyons. So there's like Benedict Canyon, Laurel Canyon, Nichols Canyon. And they're basically going from Hollywood up here. Mulholland Drive will be like kind of at the top. And then on the other side, you can even see it just by the way the streets are. See how they're all
That's
curved
funny.
here? This is up in the hills, and then the hills end, and then you get the grid. Now the valley, and the valley just goes forever. Valley forever. So anyway, that's that. And then, isn't it? Yeah. And then the 101 and then the 10. So the 10 is here. 10 goes here west to east. And even there, like it's so much in the culture too. Like like Kendrick
Wow.
Lamar. I follow him mainly
Wow.
because of my son got me into that. But he talks about like on his album, he's talking about how can you talk about LA? You don't even
Oh
travel
my
past the
Lord.
10. And so what he's talking about is how can you up
Mm.
here talk about LA when you don't even travel past the 10.
That's
I mean,
ridiculous.
it's like in the lyrics. And what he's talking about is you're up here with all the white Hollywood people doing all your weird stuff, whatever it is, right? And then we're down here
That's a good
south of
line.
the 10. And what's going on south of the 10? South of the 10 is, the city, like downtown, South Central, USC, LAX, Inglewood, Compton, Watts, right? Nickerson Gardens. These are, the Blade, so the 110, the Harbor Freeway. And Figueroa is going to run right. See
Wow.
Figueroa right there? Figueroa, the Blade,
That's
that's the
crazy.
Blade right there. Ontology's right here somewhere, like right about there somewhere. Right in here, right in here. Ontology somewhere. Anyway, how can you talk about LA? You don't
Right.
even travel past the 10. That's what he's talking about. Like this is the city,
My God.
And then that's where a lot of people, so this is like, historic South Central. This is where this was the black community. This is where the riots were. So it's increasingly Hispanic now, but it's all
That
very
makes it
much a
much
part of
more
the
palpable to
culture. And
understand
you
how this
got,
is a
just to
seat
give you
of
an
corruption
idea,
here. It's
man, you
just
got
like a hop, skip, and a
USC
jump for
is,
everybody
where
with
is it?
any
It's
sort
gonna
of
be
a
right
traveling
here.
vehicle. So it's
This
not
is
like
USC
any
right
of the
here. See
realm
it?
of collusion
It's not
without a
even that
possibility
big.
here. Look at
That's the
how
whole
close
campus right
everything is
there.
in terms of like the
And
world.
just to give you an idea, like the Shrine Auditorium, that's where they always had the award ceremonies before they had the new big one. So like when I went to
Yeah.
school here, they would do like the Academy Awards across the street. And so you would see that. And then like when I was talking about 28th Street, so 28th Street's just right here.
Mm.
28th Street, you know, it's all just right there. And then the Blade. So, and like when you zoom down, right.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Southern California, there's over 20 million people. Have, you know, about 8% of the population of the entire United States is just in this region right here. And then, like, just talking about the 10, so 10 goes Santa Monica, it goes east to west, it comes through here. All
Mm-hmm.
the places in Ali's story are going to be right on the 10, pretty much. 10 or the
Oh,
60, but, it comes out of LA like that. It's like that there, Montclair,
yeah.
Upland, Ontario Airport, and then different cities she's talked about, like Bloomington, Fontana, Rialto,
Good
San Bernardino,
Lord.
Colton. These are all places she's talked about. Redlands there, right? And it kind of comes
I
down
drove
here
onto one
a
when we
little
were out
bit,
that
and
way,
then it
and it
starts
has a
going, so it
big
jogs
sign that
down a little
says
bit, but then it
no
starts going,
photography
it
allowed
connects to the
beyond this
60 that
point,
comes out, and then you have
hence
the
no
10.
footage allowed.
So
Like you're not allowed to
Beaumont,
take videos or
Banning,
photos within like on any of these
so
streets. I thought it
Beaumont,
was very interesting.
Banning, um, Cabazon. Cabazon is where Wackenhut
Out by
was,
San
the
Jacinto.
octopus, all of that. That's Cabazon. Um, the casinos, big casinos,
Good
they can
Lord.
do a lot of stuff here because this is
Good
reservation
Lord.
land. This is not part of the United States. I mean, it is, but it's not, so they do it. Morongo Reservation. Some of these reservations have just like a few people. Like it's a
Wow.
small,
Yeah.
yeah,
Palm
yeah, right.
Springs.
Okay, here's where Scientology is. This is their international headquarters, right? Golden Era Productions. This is this is Scientology's new international base. This is where the hole is, their private prison. And all of this is in Riverside County, where the sheriff is the top law enforcement officer here running for governor, but he won't talk about Allie Carter. This all, yeah. So you see how close it all is? So that's just down from Beaumont to there. Scientology here, Wackenhut, Cabazon, Promise, Michael whatever his name is.
Mm.
And then here, look, so then you're just cruising out here. Now you're just out here, the desert. So 111 is if you're going down to Palm Springs and you go this way down here, so this is cool. A lot of these places are beautiful. Haven't been out there in a while. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's fun to go to the desert, especially this time of the year. Get down here. First, you get into Palm Springs. This is old Palm Springs, old money here. It's the first place that was developed, and then other stuff after.
Yeah.
City is a gay enclave. Rancho Mirage is where Nixon's place was. There's some real exclusive
Yep.
places out here. And then, so this is kind of and then Palm Desert ends up being bigger than Palm Springs, but it's newer. So then there's all of that. And then somewhere out here is Indian Wells. Indian Wells, that's where my
Wow.
roommate at USC lived. His parents owned a big date farm, and they were basically like just taking an acre at a time and making
Yeah, like nowhere.
selling custom homes. Very exclusive area. The country club. Tennis is really big out here at the Indian Wells Tennis Garden. Anyway, so the
I think
desert, and
that's the
then,
route we
so
took
then hop
into
back
I
on
think we took
so you
that
see
route
like
and
this
it
kind of
was
the
just
111 kind
scary
of
as all
runs
shit and
parallel.
nothing.
And then I don't know where, then here's
Yeah.
Coachella, which was not really a thing before, but now it's a big deal. The music festival. So this whole area in La Quinta, well, there's
Mm,
all kinds of stuff out there, like
that's
resort stuff. And
intriguing.
then Indio. Indio used to be like just way out in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere, but it's built out to there now. And then the 10. So then you go from there. Now, from here out, you might as well be on the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. I mean, it is just ghost towns and dirt and not much else. I mean, Cactus City. I mean, there might be
Phoenix.
Desert Center out here. I don't know if it's on this one, but you get the idea. It is, yeah, it is desolate. And sea, which is its own thing. It's its own thing. This is also the terminus of the San Andreas Fault is here,
Mm-hmm.
right here. That's
Mm-hmm.
the southern end of it. And then the 110, but then what we were talking about, you get to Blythe. And then Blythe is big, which I think there's some
Yeah.
big prisons here now. I think that's their main
And the
industry
Grand Canyon sits right up
now,
from there, right up
too.
on the left.
And then
I
and then
think I
you're in
saw it.
Arizona, and then watch where the cities
I
that the 10 goes
think it's up
through
a
or
little
by.
further.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
incredible. So you go to 10, and where do you go through? You go through the massive Phoenix area. And then
Mm-mm.
Phoenix itself, this is Maricopa County. This is the fourth most populous county in the entire United States. So
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix, Scottsdale, Camelback Mountain, everything that has to do with
Mm.
Phoenix, Arizona State, Wing Point,
That makes
USA, all
sense.
that
Right
kind of
at
stuff.
Zion.
This, up here is Sedona, Prescott, Flagstaff, and then eventually Utah. It's a little bit hard to get there that way, but there's that. Just so you can
Mm-hmm.
see where it is in. Yep, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's right there, right?
That
Wait,
was the
where is it?
weirdest experience. Dry,
Where is
dry,
it?
dry,
Oh, okay,
dry,
yeah,
dry,
here.
all the way.
Yeah, so there's like North Room, South Room. It's not the easiest place to
Mm-hmm.
get around. So like, um, I know we can't. Oh, here, the North Room, because I remember we came from Utah once. So Kanab, that's
Yeah.
where Best Friends Animal Society is, right? And yeah, and then up here, it's where
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Zion. Others. So this is how you get there from California. Take 15. Show you real quick. So there's
I got
Vegas,
lost.
come
It
through. You
stopped.
also go
Yeah.
through the
I think it's
desert
that
this
one
way,
right
but it's
there
a
above
little bit
Phoenix.
different.
Yeah.
So it's, going north. Yeah, yeah. But see how either way you're getting lots of desert. So if you're going to Vegas, it's in the middle here, you're going through
Wow.
desert on the 15. If you're going to Phoenix, you're going through even more desert, through California and Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
This one, if you go to Vegas, you go a lot through the San Bernardino, through San Bernardino County. If you go to Phoenix, you're going through Riverside County. And then out of Phoenix, here, let's just see where the 10 takes us because it's wild. I'll try not to take too many detours.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
And the
Phoenix
white
goes,
sands, there's a
there's
lot
the
around that
10,
way.
60,
Wow. Wow.
well, no, but here it's the 10. Yeah, it's the 10. Let's go down here. Oh,
That's
yeah, okay, so it
Texas,
goes
right?
down here. So it
Yeah.
goes down here. And it gets down, down,
Yeah.
down to Tucson. Okay, Tucson. Now that's near the border. And then, see, this is the international border right
Mm-hmm.
here in the middle of the screen. And then there's the 10. So it drops all the way down there. It goes from Phoenix to Tucson, and then it and it starts going, you know, west to east again and go through all these cities. I mean, all this desert, Las Cruces there, and then it goes down again. Mhm. Look at that. Juarez goes right by Juarez. So
Yeah, I
wait,
mean,
isn't
in
this
certain
El
spots
Pa?
there, you can
Wait,
like walk across the other way,
Juarez.
it looks like,
Yeah,
and
El Paso. Yeah, El Paso,
that's
right?
interesting.
It's weird. El Paso is a huge city. I don't know why it's
Yeah.
so small here.
In some places there are. I
It's not
know
as
out by
big as
you, it like
Juarez,
ends
but
at the beach and you can like
this
walk over
is
it.
has been extremely violent at times. The major border crossing.
Yeah.
It's also a place like here, like there's even special laws about these zones where they had to we've redrawn the border and had agreements because there were Mexicans that found themselves on the US side and vice versa. So even this right here has been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you see it,
Mm-hmm.
two cities built
Jeez.
right up to each other at the international border, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's like walls and it's you know, depending on what's
Yeah.
going
You just
on.
trace the border the whole way.
Yeah. Yeah, but do you see this? Like, look, the 10 freeway, like right on the border. So remember, we started in Santa Monica, went through
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix. Now we're, you know, through New Mexico. And then in
Well, the Dixie
Texas,
Mafia
it's the
uses
very
that
edge
road a
of
lot, right?
Texas,
I
right at the
believe. I'm
border. I
pretty
mean, the
sure.
freeway goes right to the border. And then it continues on. You know, it's connecting to all of these other north-south ones
Mm-hmm.
too, all along the way, right? Fort Bliss, right? And then it goes down here. I mean, it's wild. Where else are we going? South. I didn't realize it went so far
Mm-hmm.
south when you
Yeah.
look at it like this. But do you see where it's running right along the border the whole way? Like right along the border. Yeah, until here. So that
Mm-hmm.
means anyone who's crossing here is crossing close to the 10 freeway. You see what I mean? So like if you're trying to range stuff, if you're running stuff, if you're
Prada
doing
Marco.
I
Well,
don't
there's
know
a
that much
Holocaust
about them,
museum
but
right
yeah, if
over
they
the
need to
border
get
there
things,
by
you know, if they need
Ciudad
to move things east
Juarez.
to west right by the
I thought
border,
that was
then
pretty
they
interesting.
would, yeah, for sure. You know, people are when they talk about like coyotes bringing people over the border, well,
Yeah.
they bring them over the border, but eventually they're going to end up in a truck on this freeway. And then what happens to them when they're on a truck on this freeway? So then here at this point, what's this point? I think we're still in Texas.
I
Texas is
did.
really
Yeah,
big,
that
so
was
this is going to be,
ridiculous.
yes, it's up here. Marfa. I think that's Marfa, where I wrote an article about Marfa. That was an old base. It's like an art place
The
now that
Nazis'
is
art in
connected
Marfa in
to
West
Rachel
Texas. Yeah.
Chandler, of all things, and not, yeah,
Down a little bit. You gotta go down a
was.
little further.
Yeah,
There you
right.
are.
And then
Up
this
to the
is, I
left.
think this is the border, right?
Right
That's the
there.
Rio Grande. Yeah, and that's the Rio Grande. You can tell by the squiggly
And it
line.
comes back out up to
Um,
the right.
and then let's see what else is going by. So there's base down here. Yeah, it's Marfa. Have you seen the article
After
I wrote on
Houston.
Marfa?
Wow, it goes right through
Yeah, so
Beaumont.
it's here. It's this. There's Marfa. It's that. I don't know what
New
Prada
Orleans is
Marfa
right there
is.
to the
It's
right.
Marfa right there. And then the 10
Down and all
and
the way
Fort
across. That's crazy.
Stockton. I don't know
Biloxi,
that.
Gulfport.
Yeah, so here's the
Oh, all
10
through
here. It's going
Mobile.
through here. There's
Ridiculous.
Midland, Texas.
Pensacola.
That's where
Wow.
George Bush is.
This
He's
covers
probably
all the
sitting
hot
in a
corrupt spots
bathtub
down there.
painting something right now.
And it ends in
Weirdo.
Jacksonville.
Oh, it's down. No, that's a 90.
That's
Oh, the
ridiculous.
10.
That's
Okay,
what they
so
were
then it
trying to
comes
do with
down
that
here,
41 up
10,
in
and it
Michigan I was
goes
telling
through
you about.
San
The
Antonio,
city too does it,
which is
but
not far from Austin. Yeah, comes out somewhere over here. It comes out here. So I think it's gonna go, look at that. It goes through Houston, right? And it's gonna go to New Orleans. Yeah, where's New Orleans? Farther than
yeah,
this?
they
Baton
did change
Rouge
it. Yeah,
in New Orleans. And it's right through New Orleans.
it's
And
interesting.
it keeps
We'll
going.
see what they call it in 50
And
years.
it's gonna go through,
The
yeah,
next president will probably
Mississippi,
change it up.
Mobile, Alabama. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
then,
I'm surprised he hasn't
yep.
done some
And
shit
then
like that. That would really make more sense to his
Tallahassee,
persona. That's
Jacksonville,
funny.
and it ends. So that's it,
Which
the
probably, and
entire
this year I got to
US.
cut
But look at
to
where it
work,
goes
but I think this
across.
is a good spot to
The
grab
biggest
and
traffic.
next time pick up on some of those we did a dive on.
Yeah, no, I think
Thanks for
that's
doing that.
part of what made me think of it. But so like it goes through, all those big cities, all those states, when they talk about trafficking, California, Texas, Florida, all along the border, all along the Gulf Coast. My God, it's called Gulf of America. That's wild. I can't believe that. That's crazy. I guess you can call it whatever you want. They call it the Gulf of California,
Hmm.
like the Gulf of Trump. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, that's that. But like the desert. Yeah, me
Right. But
too.
just in stream of consciousness conversation, it's good to see where it comes up and how much you know
Maybe,
about it
yeah, maybe
because you're
there's
just
some,
spitting
oh
it off the
yeah,
top
no,
of your
thanks
head,
for
right? I
like
mean, we can
bearing with
obviously
me
put
and
an
all of
episode
that.
together
I
where we
don't know
pull the
how to,
details
I
and
don't know
show the
how to do this in a
screenshots,
way
but
that's, I'm gonna have to think of how
there's a
to do
lot
this
of
in a way
things
that's
that we can
organized
we
that,
can put together
respects
when
your
we talk to
time and
people and have
mine and,
conversations
is
about what they
productive.
know. And I
But
think
it's been
that's
really
important.
helpful so far, just like kind of practicing talking about things and going over stuff. So I mean, really appreciate that. And then
Yeah.
hopefully some of it's valuable, but me, I could probably put it together just in terms of like the things that we talked about. If I put them in tabs, just going
The
across left to
proximity
right
is
and be
just
like,
outrageous to me
there's this,
because it
there's this,
seems
there's
like,
this,
and we
there's this,
know
there's
that you
this,
have
and
so
then
many
something that
people
can be
there, and it
talked
just
about.
seems so large and outrageous. Thinking about driving through Texas and through Michigan, it's really not that large. You guys are close to everything. Like, it's so much smaller than we all picture. I mean, it's big, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and
Hmm.
exactly. And I knew that you were
Yeah,
interested in some of the places and where they're, where they're
that's a
connected or
lot
how
of
they're
people.
related to
That's a
each other.
lot of
So that was
houses.
a little bit why I wanted to tell you about like the valley and then the 10 and then it's going out and then it connects to all of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
yeah, in a way, like I mean another way we could look at it later would be more like this, but you'd see that there's like I was thinking of the 10, we were talking about the 10 and how important
Wow.
it is, but like, so it's up here. So it's up here like, yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, when you look at it like this, so, we're talking about the 10, and this is the one that goes all the way to Florida and through all those cities and right along the border. By the way, like stuff, these are some of the, there's the city and then there's the stuff up in the hills like this, but what I was going to show you this last thought is
Isn't
that's
that over there
LAX,
where it was
so you have the
written
huge
with the
airport
trafficking
there.
words and
But
stuff that
then
the FBI knew about?
down a
And it was
bit
a,
to where am I? Where am I? Where am
yeah.
I? Down here.
Oh my God.
This is what I wanted to show you. Talking about trafficking,
Oh
right?
my
Long
God.
Beach, right? So this part here, that's where Brad
My
is now.
God. I
This
hope they're
is
not
North
there.
Orange County. This is the border and Long Beach. So Long Beach and
That's
the
why,
Port of LA
yeah.
together here. So talking about trafficking and stuff. So this probably looks pretty
Right.
impressive.
Yeah.
It's a lot,
Right.
but when
Right.
you zoom in, watch what it looks like. Every single one of those is a container, right? Isn't that just jaw-dropping? Containers from China, to and from China. It's just, it'll take your breath away when
Hmm.
you come over the bridge. Well, yeah, that was that thing I was doing with Tez. But I mean, do you see what I mean? Like, they're stacked. These, I think, are 2 or 3 high, even. I
Yeah.
mean, so when you go like, well,
That's
where are they?
ridiculous
Where
to
are the
think about.
kids?
That's a
You
visual
know?
that I need to cut. I'm glad I
Well, I
didn't
mean, but
stop
or
recording.
where are the people? Where, like that the video that was so good that
Yeah, this
Avicii
is,
did,
yeah.
where
Yeah.
they're like
What
where
is
they
that?
open up the
Those look
doors of
like
a shipping container.
tools
I
to,
mean, they're just, I mean, on
yeah.
trucks.
Okay.
They're
So they're,
stacked
okay.
on these
Industrial
things all
tools.
day, all the time.
Oh my God, there's so much we could look
So
at. Okay.
when you're
That's
on
interesting.
on like
I'm
the
glad you did
10
that.
and
Thank
you
you.
see it, that's one of those. Compton. See Compton? That's what they're talking about. Like the people that are in the city, they're in the middle of all of that. Just, it's tough. Alondra. Yeah. As compared with this. This is where like Scientology can have all the stuff they're doing. How are you gonna find somebody out here? You know, what the heck is that? Salt evaporator plan road. Yeah, I mean, just right. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. All right.
Candy flash the logo, you drink the Kool-Aid. Mind on mute, it's just how you do. Monarch scripts in an Instagram spell. Smile for the brand while you're locked in a cell. I don't need your nod or your fragile traits. I'm here for the mess, the glitches, the bitches. Marketing's the leash, and I broke off mine. Let's hash it out, breaking control. You've taken off the matrix. See the code and learn how to decline. Marketing is mind control.